What's going on, everybody? Sean from the Win Condition here to talk to you a little bit about a card that just got previewed for the new upcoming set and how that might shape Standard, plus the influence of a couple other cards that are available to us right now. So, do you like playing Control? Do you like playing blue in your Control decks? Well, there's a new card that came out, or that will come out, that's going to reshape the way we think about playing Control decks. So the card I'm talking about is Quench from Ravnica Allegiance. It is a 1 and a blue for an instant that says counter target spell, not non-creature, not creature, not colorless, counter target spell unless its controller pays 2 mana. So this is very similar to an older card called Mana Leak. However, you pay 2 instead of the 3. Some may say that that's a little bit weaker. It is. It absolutely is. But the fact that this card is printed as a catch-all tempo counterspell can really open up the door for a lot of different decks, not just blue-white control or even Jeskai control. Now, let's talk about that for a second. Jeskai control is a blue, red, and white build. The fact that it only costs you 1 blue versus the other 3 cost counterspells that'll cost you blue, blue, and 1 already puts it ahead of the curve in terms of playability in multicolored decks. So when you play this card, what's it going to do? Let's say that, a lot of people are saying that 3-drop counterspells are horrible against aggro decks, and they are. They're terrible. It feels absolutely awful if you're on the draw and on turn 3 they went like, 1 drop, chain whirler or something else, really set you back. Jeskai, you got to kind of rely on that deafening clarion to take care of something like that for you. But anyway, so what it's going to do is, if you go, especially if you're on the play for a control deck, it will allow you to prohibit your opponent from pretty much doing what they want for 2 more turns, which is incredibly powerful. Now, they could obviously play through it, causing you to use your counterspell, but it's a quick answer to quick decks, which is everything blue-white or Jeskai control has been wanting for a while now. We're going to see different color combinations. We could see something Teamer, we could see Grix, anything involving blue. But the fact that we now have a counter spell in Standard that is decently powerful, there's a whole realm of possibilities opening up. And so what I wanted to do was just talk to you about a couple of cards that I am interested in and how I think might actually see some fair run in Standard moving forward, and some considerable options to consider. So, right off the bat, Goblin Electromancer. That card it's a house. It makes your 3-drop counterspells into true counterspells. But picture this. You're dropping your Goblin Electromancer. Now all of a sudden your Quench costs you blue mana. Just blue. And that prevents your opponent from doing anything unless they have 2 extra mana. That's pretty strong. Pretty darn strong. I know a lot of the Is It Phoenix decks might not necessarily be running Goblin Electromancer because they're in it for the 1-drops. They can really sort of cycle through the stuff. But it just seems really powerful to be able to tap 1 blue mana and double a force spike, basically. So it's kind of cool. Goblin Electromancer has been seeing a lot of play in Storm decks. I don't really think there is a Storm deck per se, short of Is It Phoenix, kind of like a Storm deck. But anyway, it could make it... you could have a pretty interesting red-blue or red-blue X deck that centers around some control in Standard right now. Also, another card that I really think, if Quench does take off and is played on Moss, like I think it might, I think we might see a resurgence of Direfleet Daredevil. That's definitely a pet card of mine. I love that card. But if you can imagine, if you have a Direfleet Daredevil and they have played their Quench already, your opponent's going to have to think about, once you cast your Direfleet Daredevil, do they waste their counterspell on it? Or will you let it resolve, and then you can now play your opponent's counterspells off of out of their graveyard, preventing them from stopping you from what they're doing. Now, granted, you have to have enough mana, but, it is a thing that exists in Standard that can definitely help get you off on the right foot when you're playing against a control deck or even an Izzet Phoenix deck, because they've got all their spells that you can use. I just really like Daredevil. Obviously, we love Snapcaster Mage. Who doesn't love Snapcaster Mage? But I think that when you do when you open your turn by casting Direfleet Daredevil, your opponent might have to think a little bit about whether they want to waste their counterspell on that. If it's a 3-cost counterspell like Sinister Sabotage, that's a fair trade. My 2-mana spell gets countered by your 3-mana spell. Got your counter out of your hand. Now I can work the rest of my turn. That seems pretty good. But anyway, yeah, it definitely. I would love to see more Direfleet Daredevil here in Standard, and I think with Quench as an easy castable counterspell, that may happen. That may very well happen. So what I'd really be curious to see is if there can be a red-blue control deck. I know there's a Jeskai control deck, but can there be a pure red-blue control deck? It's been a while. I mean, obviously, Izzet Phoenix isn't really control. It's more combo-y. But I would really love to see if there was, in fact, a way to do that. The only problem is, I mentioned earlier, Deafening Clarion. That is a white spell. So you're definitely incentivized to go white, as Teferi is white also, and he is pretty much the best Planeswalker in Standard right now. Jeskai control is probably going to be the way to go. But in red, your only true board wipes, or even close to board wipes, are you're looking at like Fiery Cannonade, which deals 2 damage to each non-pirate creature, or Star of Extinction, which will deal 20 damage to every creature, but that's going to take forever for you to cast it. So competitively, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see a true Izzet control deck, but it would be nice. And the fact that we got this counterspell brings us just a little bit closer to being able to try that out. I really, really like where Standard's at right now. I think Quench is a great card. I love control myself, and I think that, let's test the power level. Let's see where we can go. Obviously, we've got a 3rd Ravnica set coming out pretty soon, so that's probably going to be pretty crazy. If you haven't seen the card Emergency Powers yet, you can see the Bolas horns on there. We know he's going to be coming back in that 3rd set. All heck's going to break loose, so keep your eyes peeled for that 3rd Ravnica set. I don't even think we know the name of it yet, but it's intriguing, and I can't wait to see what the storyline does too. So anyway, just a quick little video here. I wanted to talk about Quench and how much I like it, and what other cards I think might be doing well in Standard alongside it. So anyway, thanks for watching. This is Sean from The Win Condition. We'll see you again soon.